Welcome to Part of the Answer, the show that gives you a peek into the minds of some of Chicagoland's best and brightest business, community, and political leaders. You'll hear the success stories behind their organizations and hear their vision for impacting Chicagoland and Illinois. No sound bites, no spin, just an authentic conversation about how they're making a difference in their community through their organization. Now, here's your host, Dan Ehrman.
Welcome to Part of the Answer here on AM 560. I'm Dan Ehrman, joined today by Dr. Paul Fisher. Welcome to the studios here at AM 560.
Thank you very much, Dan. I'm happy to be here.
Well, you are a chiropractor, and that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So kind of introduce sort of who you are, what you're about as a chiropractor here in Chicago.
Great. Yeah, I'm a chiropractor, and it's a very broad term. People in my field do a lot of things. Some do focus solely on nutrition. Some do athletics training. Just like a whole host of things. What we really focus on at Gold Coast Chiropractic is two parts. One is structural care of the body, and understanding that you should have a normal spinal alignment, just like you should have a normal heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, and that deviations from that cause health issues, and restoration towards it improve those health issues. A lot of things we see are like headaches, neck pain, low back pain. But we have also helped a lot of people with asthma, allergies, and some other things is kind of like the non-traditional, but understanding that when your body's not working the way that it's supposed to, restoring that gets things back working the way they should, as kind of simple as that is. And we do that with traditional chiropractic care, which is adjustments, but also exercise therapy, and then traction, and also dietary changes. And then another area that we work a lot with is neuropathy, and that's not typical chiropractic, although a lot of what chiropractic does has to do with the nervous system, but it's still helping the nerves heal. It's just doing it a different way. And a lot of this program is just restoring the body back to health, and it's much more patient-centered, patient-driven, and people are doing it at home. But again, you have a deviation from normal, causes problems, and returning things to normal improves your health.
That makes a lot of sense. So backing up a little bit in your story, you haven't always been Dr. Fisher chiropractor.
No.
You talk about kind of your journey to becoming a chiropractor. What kind of drew you in and attracted you to the field?
Well, I've always been fascinated by how the body worked. I've always, been that kid who took stuff apart, and sometimes I could even put it back together. And then, through high school and sports, I went to my chiropractor back in Iowa, and I always felt better. Things moved better. And I've had stitches and the medical care, absolutely that helped. But to get me moving at a higher level, chiropractic always seemed to be the answer. When I went to Iowa State University, I initially wanted to be an engineer. Phenomenal engineering school. It's great. But I just realized I needed to be I needed to be around more people. Engineers they're great. They're a unique breed, and they're just very kind of driven, and I like more of the interaction aspect.
I could see that.
And that was really what drew me to chiropractic. It was the study of like how the body is supposed to work and what you can do to restore that back to normal.
What sports were you playing?
I'm from Iowa, so by law I had to wrestle, and then
Nice.
I also did football and track, but wrestling was really kind of where my passion lied.
I could see how that would lend itself to needing a chiropractor periodically.
Yeah, and that continues to this day. That's a rough sport on the body.
Oh yeah, it's intense. So your journey from school into that, and again, medicine is so broad. There's a lot of directions you can go. Was there something about chiropractic that kind of drew you in, or what was that kind of thought process for you?
Well, there was two aspects to it. One is the philosophy behind it just really clicked with me. It was like, okay, your body is supposed to be healthy. Like you're designed in chiropractic. We talk, about your innate intelligence, or whether or not you want to talk about evolution or God or whatever. But you were designed to be healthy, and that when you have issues or problems, that when you remove those problems, the body typically operates the way it's supposed to. And that just always kind of resonated and made a lot of sense to me. If your car is not running well, making sure that it has good gas seemed to make sense to me. Like that just really resonated with me. And then the other is, as opposed to traditional medical care where it seems like you have got, a few minutes with a doctor, you see a nurse, and it's a very just clinical cold environment. really liked, I was able to interact with my chiropractor. I was able to talk. It seemed like more of a, it just seemed like more of a relationship as opposed to just a clinical interaction. And that really appealed to me too.
I could see that. It non-engineering as you are.
Yeah, that was a rude awakening one Tuesday afternoon. I was like, I can't spend the rest of my life doing this.
That's great. Well, if you're just joining us, you're hearing from Dr. Paul Fisher. He runs Gold Coast Chiropractic, goldcoastchiropractic.com. You guys are in the Gold Coast, in the city. And you've been there since, 2013?
Well, I've been there since 2013. The office has been there really for almost 30 years now. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's been there quite a while. I wasn't the first person to try to get Gold Coast Chiropractic as the office name.
That makes sense. So as you have kind of taken this on and journeyed into chiropractic, one of your stops along the way was with the DOD at Bethesda. Talk about that experience and what led to that and how did that impact what you do today?
Yeah. So I've always, in chiropractic school, there was always an opportunity to go lobby in D.C. and, really kind of expand the scope of chiropractic. And being in school, it was a cheap trip to go out to D.C. and that all helped. But there was Dr. Bill Morgan talked about a program at the Department of Defense, Bethesda National Naval, which is now Walter Reed Medical Center, where you effectively were an intern in the chiropractic department at the hospital. And it just sounded fascinating to me. So I applied for that. And that's open to, every chiropractic school out there. So I was selected, and then got to go out to DC, and it was fascinating because I saw was able to work in the pure hospital setting. And so I spent time in pain management, in orthopedics, in internal medicine, just a lot of, even did a real quick stint in dermatology. We see a lot of backs that people don't see. So that was, that was really interesting. But that allowed me to just get a huge broad base of how a clinical works. And the ability to help like active duty military was an honor that was a whole step above too. And man, those were just the best patients I've ever had in my entire life because you do home care and you had to tell them not to do more. It was fascinating. And these were guys a lot of times that, guys that, had were trying to get off narcotics or had been injured overseas and doing that, or really just, the medical care or the active duty military at home that were trying to support everyone overseas. So it was fascinating, learned a lot. And then being in DC was an experience in and of itself as well, too.
Nice. So you grew up in Iowa. You're now here in Chicago. What brought you to the Chicago area?
I was recommended to go to National which is in Lombard, by my chiropractor growing up. So I looked at Palmer and I looked at National, and I seemed to click a little bit better with National. And also I kind of like the idea of being close to Chicago as well, too. Davenport's, Palmer's a great school, but Chicago had a little bit more to offer than Davenport.
One would hope.
Yeah, a little bit. Although traffic there was a heck of a lot better there than here. But no, that and then I graduated from chiropractic school and started my first office with a partner in Hinsdale, and just kind of stayed here ever since. So.
That's excellent. So getting to, your practice and what you're doing, Gold Coast Chiropractic, goldcoastchiropractic.com is your website. But one of the specialties that you talked about, and we've touched on it already, is neuropathy. Mm-hmm. And talk about kind of your evolution into going into that specialty and like what attracted you to it.
Well, there's been a few things. The program that we use now is, I looked into this probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and a lot of the technology in the back end really kind of wasn't where we could give a comprehensive program like what I wanted to be able to do. The program we use now, well, even going back before that, if you've known somebody with neuropathy, it's just a debilitating disease.
Let's just hit pause on that, and just to define it, like my understanding of neuropathy, totally uneducated, is basically like you feel pain, but you don't know the source, or if it's like diabetic nerve pain, things like that, but you're the expert. Let me get out of the way.
No, that's pretty close to spot on. Effectively, it's an issue with the nerves in your peripheral nervous system. So typically hands and feet, and most commonly feet. And what happens is the most common cause is, like you said, diabetic nerve pain, but many times it can be from chemotherapy, and other times it's idiopathic, which is a big fancy way of saying we don't know. And that was another thing is, the medications and how debilitating this can be, because it leads to falls, it leads to a whole host of other things like amputations, but the treatment really is just let's give drugs to cover it up until we hope it just stays at bay. And the treatment that we do really goes hand in glove with chiropractic with, all right, let's find out what's wrong. Let's remove that. Let's improve the nutrition. Let's make sure that we improve the nerves, that we get more blood flow to the area. And like a lot of things in life with the body, that when you remove what's wrong, the body heals and expresses itself on its own. And what's great about the program we do is that so much of it, like I said, is patient-driven and patient-centered, that someone has nerve pain for 5-10 years, it's going to take a while to restore that. And with our program, people are able to do that at home on their own for months or however long it takes, and it's not they have to keep coming into the office, which if you're 70 years old and you have neuropathy, pretty tough to drive.
Oh, yeah.
So being able to have that treatment at home is huge, and then be able to get that freedom moving forward.
Well, that's great. So part of what you offer is you're willing to travel and meet people at their home and all that.
No, not quite. It's more.
Well, we're about to hit the break, so I'll let you unpack what that looks like when we come back. You're hearing from Dr. Paul Fisher, GoldCoastChiropractic.com. Here on Part of the Answer, I'm Dan Ehrman.
We now return to Part of the Answer on AM 560 The Answer with your host, Dan Ehrman.
Welcome back to Part of the Answer here on AM 560. I'm Dan Ehrman, and I'm joined today by Dr. Paul Fisher at Gold Coast Chiropractic, GoldCoastChiropractic.com. And Dr. Fisher, just before the break, I asked you a question and made a misstatement about home care and what that looks like. So unpack, what is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't drive to people's houses and treat them. I'd be wanting to stay for dinner anyway, so it's for the best that I don't come. But what our care does, with the last year, we've had to reinvent a lot of what we've done, and we're in the process of trying to get it so that it's completely online, so that people don't even have to come to the office at all. We'd be able to do their examination over Zoom with a kit that we would send. It's still probably about 5 to 6 months off to do it to a level that I'm confident we're getting good answers. But the way it is now is that they're coming into the office for in-office care, but at home, three of the huge prongs of the care is one is the nutritional aspect. And that we have nutrients that increase nitric oxide, that increase blood flow, that also soothe the nerve pain. Another part is near infrared light therapy, and what that is that increases angiogenesis. It increases basically blood flow to the area. You think about any injury, you need more blood.
Yeah,
and that also helps calm down nerves. And, it just accelerates healing. And then the last part is it's basically nerve reprogramming. When you've got nerves that have been damaged, that have been misfiring for years, you have to train them how to work again. And what that is, it's called a rebuilder therapy. It's used by the Cancer Treatment Centers of America for chemotherapy pain. And it's a non-narcotic way to basically not only decrease pain, but also change the way that the nerves are functioning so they do what they're supposed to.
What's that called again? It's
called rebuilder therapy. It's an FDA-cleared, prescription-only treatment, but it's phenomenal. A lot of people get it confused with the TENS unit, which, the electric stim pads, and it looks like you're familiar with that. But this is not that at all. It's not just pain care. It's actually it's reprogramming the nerves so that they fire and function the way that they're supposed to. And it's digital state-of-the-art, and it's really fun stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fascinated. Chiropractic is kind of medicine, but also stuff where, you talk about, there's pain and you don't really know where it's coming from, and navigating into that space. Is there sort of a tension between the known things and biology, and then other things that they work but you're not sure why, or what is kind of the tension between science and the art of chiropractic?
Well, I guess the biggest tension I'd find is that what we do is the science is there. The science supports what I do a lot better than the vast majority of what people would think of like typical treatments. But, I'd say a lot of the tension has to go to is that the care of what we do requires a lot more of like the patient driven. This isn't, take 2 and call me in the morning and we'll hope it gets better. And, with the neuropathy, this is what we do. But we also, if someone has diabetic neuropathy and they've got a blood sugar of 300, what we do is going to have limited effects. And typically we don't accept patients like that in the program because we have a 93% success rate. And to keep that, we accept people who are going to be a good fit. But then also even in chiropractic, when I do my full evaluation and we, go through the movement analysis and do a spinal analysis, unless I can go through everything and say, yes, you're coming in complaining of headaches. You have a reverse curve in your neck. That's causing the headaches. This is causing the neck pain. This is causing your limited motion. We can fix that. Yeah, absolutely. We'll start. I mean, it's kind of a point A to Z way of evaluating someone and then from that evaluation giving a treatment specific for them. And there's the biggest art I found is explaining this all to patients in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, I guess there's still a little bit of an engineer in me because I could talk for hours about the specific curve and how it's a circle in your neck and it's an ellipse in your mid back and an ellipse in your low back. But I can see your eyes glazing over. But when we can say, hey, your neck is not, this is how it's supposed to be. This is how your neck is. This is what we're going to do to fix it. Or we go through a nerve evaluation as, listen, you've got 70% nerve loss. At 20%, we get really concerned because their body's breaking down faster than it can build back up. If you don't do this, you're going to be losing toes. And that's not, I don't want to scare anybody, but that's the fact of what's going to happen.
Wow. So I have a friend who is adamant about not seeing a chiropractor. He's got back problems and he's had surgeries. And he's deathly afraid of a chiropractor. How would you talk to someone like that and kind of unpack what you do?
Well, the easiest way is talking to someone like that is because I've dealt those. I've been at cocktail parties and I was like, you do what? And, in my younger days, I didn't handle that question quite as well as I like to think I do now. But more of those is, if somebody's got back pain, headaches, he's like, if that was something that I could help you with without drugs or surgery, would you be interested?
Yeah. And
then because some people aren't. And, God bless them. I wish them the best of luck. But for those that are, it's like, hey, if you'd like to come in, we'll do an eval. I'll explain everything to you. If it makes sense and it works, awesome. We've got really good success rate too, about 85% in the office. Wow. If not, then, I'll try to get you to where it is. But with a lot of those, it's, I got to see if we can help. And one, it's, do you want the help?
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't drive to people's houses. I don't drive to people's houses and pick them up and bring them into the office, too.
Right. Well, if you're just joining us, you're hearing to Dr. Paul Fisher. He's at goldcoastchiropractic.com, and this is Part of the Answer here on AM 560. I'm Dan Ehrman, and we're talking with Dr. Fisher kind of about the practice, what you do, and unpacking that a little bit. Are there aspects of so I see sometimes on social media chiropractors who will amp up the sound of cracking somebody's back and making a whole scene out of it. What are there aspects of the job that you particularly enjoy?
I'm a chiropractor. I do love adjusting. I'll be the first to admit it. Some people don't particularly care for that sound, but there's dentists who love the sound of a drill in a tooth, and God bless them. But I do love adjusting. But the biggest thing is seeing the changes that people appreciate. Is we've got, one guy who's on our, who did a YouTube video, but he talks about, he's like, he was trying to be an amateur weightlifter. He's like, oh my God, my overhead press went up 30 pounds and I've changed nothing except coming in here.
Whoa.
And when you get things like that, or it's like, I was able to actually, we do a lot of work with TMJD too, because the jaw balances out the neck and there's a whole interrelay with that too. But seeing people as he's like, I was actually able to go to work and have lunch with everyone and not worry about the clicking and popping. Or I was able to have an apple, which I haven't done in years. And some of this doesn't sound like all that exciting, but really when you the changes that it happens in people's lives, and because you don't realize what you've lost until you haven't had it for a long time, and then you get it back. And that's probably the most exciting part, is when people see those changes. And frankly, referencing your friend, is the people like that is I hate chiropractors that put up the bigger wall that we have to explain what we do. Because I'll sit and talk with anybody about what we do. I stand behind it 1,000%. But then seeing people like that, and I both love and hate this, is I wish I would have come to you sooner. Because that's what it's we're able to help them. Obviously, we wish we would have seen them sooner too. But for people, it's I never went in here, and I'm going to tell other people I did well. It's hey, we're happy to help. That's probably one of the favorite parts too. I don't know. I like a lot of parts of my job, I guess. I'm pretty fortunate.
That's huge. It's good to enjoy what you do and to dig into those things. And it allows you to stay curious as well and kind of mentally active with it. And toward that end, are there some new developments that you see in chiropractic that you're particularly excited about and things kind of just moving forward as a study?
Well, one is with the neuropathy care that we've talked about.
Yeah.
That's huge. Two is really what we're seeing more and more with what we do with structural care is what the long-term benefits are. And that really improving normal alignment not only makes a good change, but it makes a long change, and it's a change that stays. The group that I work with, Chiropractic Biophysics, they have some of the best studies out there showing long-term care for headaches, for cervicogenic headaches, which is a big fancy way of a headache coming from your neck. And that's been fascinating. Because the question I get a lot from people is if I go to a chiropractor, I got to go to you guys forever. It's well, as a chiropractor, I say, yeah, you should, because this keeps you healthy. It keeps things moving. Consider the source. But also, as we're getting better and better research, too, showing that, obviously you'll do better. But even if we restore this curve, you don't have to keep coming, but you'll still get the benefits of the care that we did. And that's benefits of not only decreased pain, but decreased narcotic usage. 93,000 people they're seeing died in 2020, a record because of narcotic usage.
Yeah.
And that's not only talking, and that's not even talking about the families that were destroyed because of that and all the collateral damage, but really being able to make a long-term change in somebody's life of understanding the basis of what's wrong with them and then correcting it.
It sounds like it's a tough journey for a lot of people. I imagine you meet a lot of people who are in a moment of severe pain and troubled. And I imagine there's sometimes even instant transformation for people in relieving some of that pain and managing pain in a more holistic way. That must be fun to see kind of people freed from that.
Oh, absolutely. And people coming in after their first adjustment being I was able to get 3 hours of sleep last night, which, for most normal people are okay, congrats. But for people who haven't been able to sleep for more than half an hour at a time for days, weeks, months, wow. That's a huge change. And then it's it's a lot more fun being with my wife now or playing with my kids. And yeah, it's you see people do that. And that's a lot of what we talk about too, is it's not so, I love getting people out of pain, but it's more what that pain allows them to do. Is it be able all right, you want to run a marathon? That's awesome. Or, hey, you want to be able to pick up your grandkid? That's cool too, just a different kind of cool, and how we're able to, help people along that journey.
That's excellent. Well, Dr. Fisher, thank you for coming in. Thank you for the work that you're doing at Gold Coast Chiropractic. If people wanted to reach you, what is your number?
312-988-9655. But yeah, again, everything's online. So Gold Coast Chiropractic, .com, we're there too.
Excellent. Again, that was 312-988-9655, goldcoastchiropractic.com. And this is Dr. Paul Fisher that we've been hearing from today. Thanks for coming in here to be on Part of the Answer on AM 560. I'm Dan Ehrman. Thanks for joining us on your weekend.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan. I appreciate it. It was a good time.